Similarly, the recycling and the IPL matter we'll discuss second on the agenda is something that is of significant impact and consequence to our city. Doing it right can lead to jobs, can lead to a better environment, can lead to more thoughtful, consistent policies for our city, not just for this year or next year, but for generations to come. So it's really incumbent on us as councilors to do a good job of listening and doing a deep dive on what the plans are for recycling, because it can be argued that our city over the long term hasn't done enough and hasn't done a good enough job. In fact, we only have about a 10% recycling rate in our city, and it's striking because if you look just within the boundaries of our city itself, Lawrence, which is surrounded by Indianapolis, has a over 70% recycling rate. And in fact, I was texting earlier to confirm that with the one of the leaders in the mayor's office, and he didn't have the final, most recent numbers, but he said the newer numbers would probably be 80 and maybe even higher than 80%. And so the question becomes, how on earth is Lawrence, right within our own county, doing such a better job than the broader city of Indianapolis? And so that's the kind of thing we need to explore. And so as we know, the situation that we have in front of us is there's a decision by the mayor's office to move forward with a proposal by Covanta, who's been a long-time partner to the city of Indianapolis with a facility here downtown, to do recycling that I'll let them explain. That's something called sort of a single stream process. So the question we're struggling with or trying to figure out is what's the right, best policy for the best recycling program we can have in Indianapolis, period, going forward. Maybe the single source approach is a approach. Maybe it's the best approach. Or maybe there's other ways we could think about it that would be a more holistic, assembled approach that would get us to higher levels of recycling. But we want the committee to hear this. We want the public to hear this. And since the council actually doesn't have a vote on this, this is something that's decided in the Public Works Committee, a committee that will meet tomorrow. We wanted to make sure, board, thank you, wanted to make sure we had a thorough public vetting of the proposal here tonight. So with that, I'm going to start. The representatives from Covanta can review exactly what they're proposing and what the contract would hold, and then we'll hear from the Indiana Recycling Coalition. So with that, I'll defer to you. You do need to flip the microphone so you see the yellow light. So. IRC, and I think Ms. Hamilton is going to present.
Thank you, Chairman Barth and members of the committee, for this opportunity to present today. As Danny cues up our presentation, I'll take just a moment to make a technical point of clarification in case it comes up again. One of the terms Covanta used was single stream, and that can be confusing. In the industry, single stream is considered when you have one recycling bin and one trash can versus the one bin system that Covanta is proposing. So if myself or any other of the other recycling industry folks uses the term single stream, they mean a recycling container and a trash container. To the question earlier, while we get here, about the commodity commitments, I'll share some more companies that have come out in opposition, and I will say that they've all told me that they will take what they can get. If they have to sign an agreement with Covanta to get less material than is possible from Indianapolis, they'll take that less material. And they'll use what they can. Some of it will be more contaminated that many of them can use. But we'll get to that as we get into this presentation. So go ahead, Danny. Thank you. So just briefly about the IRC. I told you to be quick. We are a statewide coalition. We've been around 25 years. We do education and advocacy, as you see right now. We deliver programs and projects and a statewide conference every year, delivering best practices and networking opportunities for government and industry. We are a diverse membership. We have governments such as cities and towns and solid waste management districts and industry and business. Industry you'll hear from tonight, but the businesses also include companies like Kroger and Cummins and Lilly, who just care about supporting a more sustainable Indiana. We also have individuals, some of whom are in the room tonight, many others across the state, universities and other nonprofits. An important point about energy as I frame this issue for you all. All of the commodity sectors see huge energy savings when they use recycled content versus raw materials to make new products. And this relies on high-quality recycled commodities coming into their operations. You'll hear in a moment from a glass company, but I'll mention that even at just 25%, that's a major bottom line issue for that company. And certainly across the board, the energy savings are extremely significant when you use recycled versus raw materials. And the carbon connection, this is very, very important. In 2009, U.S. EPA determined that 44% of carbon emissions in the United States come from the life cycle of stuff, from raw resource extraction to end of life. And when they did that research, they also determined that waste reduction, reuse, and recycling, that would be R3, recycling most notably can have a significant and relatively very inexpensive impact on those carbon emissions. So when they looked at a long list of carbon mitigation strategies, recycling was at the top of cost-effective strategies to reduce carbon in our economy, and that is because of the energy savings, the significant energy savings when we do high-quality recycling. So jobs. Last year, we commissioned the Bowen Institute for Public Policy at Ball State to look at the job creation potential of increased recycling in Indiana, because we knew recycling is a jobs engine. It's a new form of resource extraction, similar to well, I won't mention that. We've got other industries that are resource extraction industries in our country, and recycling is an untapped one, certainly in Indiana. Next slide. Our baseline is in Indiana. We dispose of approximately 6 million tons of material every year, most of which is recyclable or compostable. The next slide shows the breakdown statewide of waste and recyclables, so our entire municipal solid waste stream. This differs somewhat from Covanta's breakdown, but this is what we saw when we looked across the state of Indiana. Purdue did this study. It's very well regarded in the recycling community. The two key points are that recycling creates an average of 10 to 1 jobs. 10 jobs when you recycle material versus 1 job when you landfill or incinerate that material. And in Indiana, if we were to capture just 25%, so increasing from what we're recycling today, capturing 25% of that 6 million tons, we would create 10,000 new jobs in Indiana. And that is the collection, sorting, transporting, and processing jobs that are created when you mine that material and put it back into the economy. This calculation is based on high-quality, clean recycling. And in a moment, I'll hit on the job creation potential for Indianapolis specifically. The study also looked at in-state demand for recyclables. We did a comparison that was very similar to comparisons in other Midwest and Southeast states, looking at about 20 mostly industrial states, and we have much more in-state demand than all of those states, actually, as far as number of manufacturers. I'll mention we are second only to California in terms of how much glass we manufacture. Alcoa alone within the aluminum industry and their other employers in Indiana, they employ 4,000 Hoosiers. I could go on and on. We have a major footprint, and we know we're a manufacturing state, right? But we have a major, major footprint in the basic commodity manufacturing. So how do we create the jobs? Well, we know what to do. The best practices are out there. Communities across the country for decades have been figuring out what works. Recently, a national trade group of consumer goods companies commissioned a study and looked at 100 cities. And they said the baseline is providing one easy-to-use, convenient cart for every household and telling folks how to use it. So easy access, provided for everyone, and public education. And people will do it. By and large, not everyone will, but people, by and large, like to recycle. It feels good. If they know how to do it and they can do it conveniently, they will do so. So I think Councilor Barth mentioned earlier that there's new state legislation. This is landmark legislation this year. Next slide. We have this 50% recycling goal and new recycling data collection requirements, and very notably, starting last week, a legislative review of policy solutions to help communities like Indianapolis. So this is happening right now at the State House. They're trying to figure out how to help communities like us with state resources achieve the 50% recycling goal. Next slide. So we don't come to opposition as a coalition organization lightly. When we learned about this proposal late last year, we reached out first to our members who rely most on recycled commodities, some of the folks you'll hear from today and many others. And we asked them, does this process work? And they, across the board, expressed serious concern based on the fact that they believe, based on their experience operating around the world, that this will result in lower quality material and lower quantity than what we could recover if we have a clean system. So then, actually, go back. Let me make sure I didn't miss any. So commodity markets, recycling only works if the markets work. Recycling is an industry. We have to make sure that industry can work efficiently to obtain the environmental and economic benefits that are possible. Next slide. Looking specifically at Indianapolis, Covanta's proposal, and we heard this tonight, and this is based off a presentation they shared with us back in March, would result in their goal. We're not yet sure if they're required to achieve this goal, but would be to capture 65,000 tons per year. Looking at several cities across the country that have done best practices, and including cities like Fort Wayne and Columbus, Ohio, we can expect reasonably from that simple cart system 96,000 tons per year. That's nearly 100,000 tons. Significantly more material captured and definitely higher quality for all of that material, serving our manufacturers with that high quality material. On the right of the slide, you see the job creation opportunity. Covanta shared the 60, 70 jobs they will be creating on site. We don't know, with that lower number of 65 and the lower quality that industry tells us will come out, not all of it, but some of it, that what the job creation will be. But we do know that if we capture 96,000 tons or more of clean material, we can create nearly 1,300 jobs in Marion County. And it's really common sense if you think about it. It's the collection, sorting, transporting, and processing jobs. You'll hear from one of the processors right here in Marion County in a few minutes. Next slide. Also, we know that energy is important in our city, and we commend Mayor Ballard for his work to make our city more energy efficient and energy independent. When we look at the Covanta proposal based on their data versus the best practices that we just put forward, and let me mention, I forgot to mention this, and I don't want to forget this, on the previous slide, that 96,000 tons is based on participation rates ranging from 65 to 85%. So we are absolutely not assuming here that every single person will recycle. That wouldn't be reasonable. This is a very conservative estimate. Next slide. So based on that, we have 50% more energy generation or conservation compared to Covanta, and that accounts for the energy generation of steam for the downtown loop with the material that will be burned at Covanta. So the opportunity. Can we afford a better solution? This is an important question. And 4 years ago, when the mayor's office last went out 3 or 4 years ago to ask for recycling, there were not the options I'm going to talk about over the next 2 minutes. But they are there today. And to not take advantage of these opportunities, to not sit down and fully vet these options that could create a long-term or economically and environmentally better program is a loss for our city. So companies like Coca-Cola, Walmart, Alcoa, and others in the supply chain, they're stepping up to fund recycling. Indianapolis is a target, nationally and with state policy as well. Nationally, these companies see Indianapolis as one of the few remaining large cities that has so much opportunity of material to recover because we have not provided comprehensive recycling for our residents. They oppose the dirty process. They would invest in the process, the mixed processing that Covanta is proposing, if it made sense. They are not investing in that technology. They are standing up here and in front of the Board of Public Works and saying, please don't go that route. We want to help you. We want to buy bins for Marion County so that long-term you can do the right thing. So specifically these options, there is a new fund started by Walmart. It's called the Closed Loop Fund. It was announced on April 29th in Arkansas. I had the privilege of attending that announcement. They have brought together, both with an investment directly from Walmart and also some of their major suppliers, they have brought together a $100 million fund whose sole purpose is to invest in municipal recycling programs. One of the key targets is bins for all in communities like Indianapolis. We have been in discussions with them. They would love to come to Indianapolis and talk about how to help make recycling happen here. That alone may not be the solution, but we don't need that alone. State grants are available today. We've been told by the governor's office that, again, Indianapolis is a target. We have so much material. With an investment in Indianapolis, the state recycling rate will jump ahead. It will jump ahead. And so they've targeted several million dollars out of a fund that today has about $12 million in it to invest in carts if the city so chooses to ask for that. One other resource, the Curbside Value Partnership. This is a program that's been around for a while, and it's bumped up in recent months and over the past year with some new resources, a commitment of technical support to Indianapolis to help do the right thing. They've got public education toolkits, best management practices. So my point is there's a host of resources out there. And the goal is, and the reason that all of these companies under Walmart's umbrella are investing is because they see the writing on the wall. They're operating in a supply-constrained world, in a resource-constrained world. And they say, to maintain our bottom line, we have to get recycled resources out of the waste stream to feed back into the manufacturing process, or we're going to see skyrocketing prices in the future. That's why they're investing. It's not a feel-good, philanthropic, environmentally happy investment. It's because it's a bottom-line issue. And the reason they've targeted for example, Carts for All, is they have seen in other cities, and I believe we would see, and we need to explore it, that if we provide those bins with grants and loans, it's a zero-interest long-term loan, that loan, it's designed to be paid back with the savings the city receives from the value of the commodities. So if in 5 years we're marketing millions of dollars in commodities, that's going to pay off that loan. We're not going to be doing that if we go the other direction. So the process that Covanta has proposed, as you know, I won't spend time on this, is to sort out from trash. Questions that some of our members are asking, we're a coalition, is this what we want for our city? Is this what our residents want? Next slide. So Sustain Indy, we have made some great strides on the sustainability front in Indianapolis, and recycling is certainly a front line of the environmental movement that everyone can do. Folks like to recycle. Like I said earlier, if they can do it conveniently, they will. This will be a step backwards for our sustainability image and reality as a city. We've talked about this. It's a long-term commitment. It's an important decision. Next slide. So we can do this. We've got a partnership. We can't put numbers on the table in front of the city with the proposal, as Covanta has suggested. The city has to sit down. We're glad to come to the table and help in any way we can, but they have to sit down with the closed-loop fund and with the state and pencil it out. They have to step back and say we want a sustainable materials management system, and let's pencil this out and make it cost neutral, long-term, and ultimately cost beneficial. I think that's it. So I've got, this is a summary here, new funding, new policy, and new resources that we don't even know about coming from state government. It's viable now to do what the city's wanted to do for many years. And we hope that the mayor will pause and consider these options. So a couple more things I just need to mention, and then there are a few industry folks who want to speak, so I'd be glad to take questions after I'm done or after they're done, whatever makes sense, Chairman, of course. Just to share with you quickly the laundry list of businesses and stakeholders who have weighed in opposition so far: the Hoosier Beverage Association, Monarch Beverage, Owens, Illinois, Knauf Insulation, Perpetual Recycling Solutions, Amcor Rigid Plastics, Alcoa Recycling, Pratt Industries, Strategic Materials, the Walmart Closed Loop Fund, Rock 10, 10 paper industry CEOs in total, Steel Recycling Institute, the Institute for Scrap Recycling Industries, Hoosier Chapter, and the Aluminum Association. Just the footprint in Indiana is tens, if not hundreds of thousands of employees. This is an important business economic impact that the city's considering. I was also, just to share from Alcoa, a statement from their National Recycling Director, to put this in perspective for another commodity that's not represented tonight. While Alcoa applauds all efforts to recycle, we have concerns that a single-stream dirty mixed waste processing facility could cause the aluminum cans to become contaminated by solid waste and hinder the ability to turn them into new cans. Aluminum is a valuable component of the circular economy. Because it does not rust, decay, or lose its quality, it can be recycled repeatedly without loss of properties. But in order to truly maximize that value, we need to separate materials for recycling. Finally, just earlier this evening, the American Forest and Paper Association asked me to read a statement. They've submitted a letter to you. I'm reading just a very small statement from them. The AF&PA appreciates the opportunity to provide information for the Community Affairs Committee's consideration on effective practices and innovative recovery programs that have helped cities across the country reach their material recovery and recycling goals and create availability of mill-quality recovered fiber for purchase by paper and paper-based packaging manufacturers. AF&PA shares the committee's goal of increasing recovery rates and reducing the amount of recyclable paper and paper-based packaging going to landfills or incineration. We support the development, implementation, and promotion of proven and effective practices, such as the examples provided in our full statement, that will help increase recovery. And then finally, my final thought, this isn't just a feel-good environmental decision or an easy decision for the city. This is about how the city chooses to spend millions of dollars, because the city will be continuing to pay Covanta millions of dollars per year to manage what will be several million tons of material in the coming years. This is natural resources. Shouldn't we stop to consider the solution that would result in the recovery of significantly more material, creating jobs and conserving energy along the way? The solution that would result in long-term cost savings to taxpayers as well. Thank you.
So we'll have a couple industry representatives, and then councilors can ask questions.
Good afternoon. I want to thank the Committee Chair Barth for allowing us the opportunity to address this important issue. My name is Fran McPoland, and for almost 15 years I have represented the 10 companies that make up the Paper Recycling Coalition. Prior to that, I was appointed by President Clinton as the nation's first federal environmental executive, where I was responsible for all the recycling programs in the federal government. We can talk about that later. I am enormously proud of the companies I represent and the 50,000 people these companies employ in the United States, 1,300 of which are in Indiana. These companies make 100% recycled paperboard and container board, all of your cereal boxes, cake mix boxes, beverage containers, and everything that comes to you in shipping containers from companies like Amazon. Our raw material for these products is recovered fiber. Our mills can't use anything else. We are entirely dependent on a steady supply of quality material. We know what we need to make our products. We know what works and what doesn't. Like this box I have here, many of the products our companies make are food packaging, either directly or indirectly. The quality of the material we supply is paramount, both to our companies and to our customers. Our companies supply several grades of food packaging that all comply with FDA requirements for both direct food and indirect food contact. We work to achieve the highest quality of our raw material. Simply stated, we cannot accept recycled paper that is contaminated from biological or chemical contaminants. Think about what you put in your trash each week, and then what sits there for a week. I was thinking about bringing pictures or samples, but I figured the box would do. Would you want the cereal box or the cookie box to be made from paper that has been exposed to that same putrid soup of contaminants? Recycling, separating your recyclables from your trash so that they can be turned into new products, is part of our everyday life. I believe this debate today is for the soul of recycling as we know it in this country. Recycling has been a tremendous success because it's something that people can do that they know makes a difference in the environment. We've all been told to use less energy, conserve water, etc., but we can't hold that in our hands and know that it makes a difference. Recycling is something that people do because it works. We've reviewed the Advanced Recycling Center proposal, and given our experience, we know it will not yield the quality of materials that we need. It is risky and unproven. It is neither advanced nor is it recycling. It will set recycling back decades in the city, and I don't believe that's the intent of the city. I know the city is facing severe economic pressure, but my request to you is simply to delay consideration of this project. It makes no sense to burn incredibly valuable commodities unless your only interest is producing fuel. I know the city has a higher purpose. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and the council members. We really appreciate this opportunity to speak to you. My name is Miles Cohen. I am the president of Pratt Recycling, one of the members of the organization that Ms. McLeod just spoke about. We are an active member of that organization. We are the largest privately held 100% recycled packaging company in the world. We are up to here in a good way with Indiana right now. We are building our 4th paper mill in the United States. All of our paper mills are 100% recycled paper mills. That's all we do. We do not use any trees. We do not use any pulp. We use only this paper after it's recycled, cardboard boxes, telephone books, as long as those are going to be around, and a myriad of other materials from magazines to the cereal-type boxes and cookie boxes and pizza boxes and all those other types of materials. That's what we do. When we decided to build a mill in our 4th mill in Valparaiso, Indiana, it is going to create hundreds of jobs. It's a $290 million project. And we are going to need for that paper mill 432,000 tons of recycled material a year. That is huge. And the paper isn't in Indiana right now. It's in the landfill is where it is, and it goes into the landfill. Carrie Hamilton can confirm these numbers, but I think the job study and the recycling study that Purdue did was 1.7 million tons of paper, 1.7 million tons of paper a year that goes into the landfill, and a lot of that is Indiana. So we are for what most cities and best practices do across the country, which is source separation of recyclables at the earliest point to keep them good, to keep them clean, to keep them marketable, to keep them usable. So contamination is a huge concern with the proposed project by Covanta. A recent study of dirty MRFs, there's been all kinds of studies, but one of the recent studies had less than 15% recovery rates. There's not a lot of them around for a very good reason. Of all the commodities that were mentioned, paper, metal, plastic, paper is going to be the hardest to recover, yet it's the most volume. Of the 65,000 tons that Covanta mentions, probably 60 to 70% is paper, and the rest is plastics and metal, and it might even be 75 or 80%. Haven't seen their numbers exactly how they get to them, but the vast majority of it is paper. And that's the stuff that's easy to contaminate. Think about, you mentioned diapers and all that other stuff. Think about, wrapping some old food scraps or fish or whatever in newspaper and throwing it in your kitchen trash and trying to recover that and get the smell out of it and use it to make new recycled paper. No company, no recycling company would do that. My organization that I'm responsible for purchases close to 2 million tons of recyclables a year. My organization is responsible for buying and selling in the U.S. almost 4,000 tons of recyclables per day. So this is my expertise. This is what I do. We have contracts with major cities across the country. We do the recycling for New York City, and we have the only paper mill in New York City. So we do small cities, we do large cities, we do medium-sized cities, and we look at materials that come from dirty MRFs, and it usually does not meet the specification. In the state of Indiana, there's no study that says exactly how much is recovered between commercial and residential and everything combined, like an Amazon.com distribution center has trailer loads of cardboard every day. There's no study that counts that. But we estimate that existing collection between all residential and all commercial in the state of Indiana is around 700 to 750,000 tons. If you take our paper mill plus the other paper mills, there is going to be a need for 1,150,000 tons of paper per year. That is a huge shortfall of over 400,000 tons. We are going to get that paper one way or the other. Right now, there's two paths to get that paper. One path is to turbocharge recycling rates in the state of Indiana, and Indianapolis has to be in that conversation because it is the biggest city. So that is the number one thing that we can do. Or number two, we have to go to Ohio and Illinois and Wisconsin and Kentucky and all over and cast a very wide net to create jobs and bring paper from those areas. That is not what our choice is to do. That is not why we chose to come to Indiana with our huge, nearly $300 million project. We would like the paper to come from here.
So if I could just ask a question. So in other words, the economic generation you'll be creating in your plant in Valparaiso won't be generating jobs in Marion County. It'll be generating jobs in Cook County or some other part of the region, because that's where people are recycling and getting you material you need.
Exactly. Exactly. The Indiana, I believe that one organization that is going to support this, but I'm not sure yet if a letter has been written, is the Indiana chapter of recyclers. And just to give you a few statistics for the current recycling industry in Indiana, currently employs 11,000 direct and indirect jobs. Total economic impact for the state of Indiana, I don't have Indianapolis, I apologize, is about $2 billion. And there's $93 million paid in state and local taxes by mostly a lot of independent recyclers. Yes, some of them are large corporate companies, but most of them are independent recyclers. The other thing that I'll leave with one or two last comments is I've been in the recycling business, I've been in the packaging business for well over a decade, not my entire career, not my entire life. Been involved and I've seen at least dozens, but probably hundreds of cities struggle with how to make their recycling program world class. Whenever we as an industry see a city that is going to recycle and increase their recycling rates, we get very excited as an industry. Whether it's the plastic industry, the metals industry, the paper industry, the glass industry, we get very excited because there is a voracious appetite for recycled material. Everybody wants it. This is my first experience ever seeing a coalition of companies that are competitors of ours, as well as other commodities, because we're in the paper business, but such as plastics, metals, and glass, all get together to speak against a recycling proposal. Never seen it before. This is the first time I've ever stood in front of a group ever that said, don't do this. We need the material. We want the material. We need the material. My last message is, if you look at the large waste haulers and landfill companies, okay, the largest waste hauler in the country, I believe, has 250 landfills, 300 transfer stations, so they control tens and tens of millions of tons of municipal solid waste. If anybody would have the answer to pick all that stuff out and successfully get the paper out of the dirty diapers and separate that material, they'd be working on it. That one big company has around 90 material recovery facilities, and they're all source-separated recyclables that go through there, not municipal solid waste. So thank you very much. I am available for questions because this is what I do, and I can talk about any of the equipment and all the other stuff, and we would just ask you to pause and take a look at alternatives. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Richard Abramowitz. I'm here representing Strategic Materials, and thank you for allowing us to speak to the committee tonight. Strategic Materials is a leading North American recycling company with 40-plus recycling facilities located across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. We recycle glass. That's the only thing we recycle. We are headquartered in Houston, Texas, and of glass processing plants here in Indianapolis, on Minnesota Street, and in Ashley, Indiana. These plants primarily process plate and specialty glass. Our competitors also operate several glass recycling operations in Indiana. The demand for recycled glass in Indiana is strong, with both container and insulation manufacturing plants located in the state. There are no less than 5 container plants and at least 1 insulation manufacturer located here, Knauf, which is represented here as well. These manufacturers could use more contaminant-free recycled glass than is currently available. I am therefore here today to voice our opposition to the proposed mixed waste processing facility. There is currently no consideration for recovering glass. At best, maybe an afterthought, as you heard earlier. This is a missed opportunity to feed Indiana manufacturers who have a demand for this material with valuable resources to help protect the environment and create local green jobs. Materials coming from mixed waste processing facilities are likely to have higher contamination rates, and especially protrusibles and organics, that will make it more difficult to market and sell these materials. This project, and I'm going to close because I know you got other things to talk about, but in closing, and most importantly, this project does nothing to encourage residents to think differently about their trash and how they might reduce the amount of waste they generate. It will only make worse the out-of-sight mindset and encourage consumption. The city will have no incentive to reduce the amount of waste that it generates under this proposal. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and the committee, thank you very much for having us speak about this important event. My name is Andy McIntyre. I'm the Sustainability Manager for Knauf Insulation, located in Shelbyville, Indiana. We employ about 850 people currently in the state of Indiana. We need more clean, recycled glass, period. We recycle right now about 1 million beer bottles equivalent a day. Okay, a day. I can assure you there is a healthy demand for clean, recycled cullet, and our partner, Strategic, is somebody that we work with on a daily basis in helping supply that to us. Our customers, our clients, engineers, architects are demanding from their suppliers that they provide high recycled content materials, and our ability to source high recycled content for our materials directly impacts our competitiveness in the market that we play in. The option, the Covanta option obviously does not give us a source for glass, and our business expansion in the future, whether it's direct in Shelbyville or with our local Indianapolis partners, will go where recycled glass exists. It's just a time-tested thing. People go where their raw material sources are. So that's just short and sweet. We are an end user of glass, and we need more of it. Clean, recycled glass. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think Councilor Adamson has a question for Ms. Hamilton.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a couple of questions and comments. The first question is for you. Is it safe to say that with Indiana being such a heavily manufacturing state, that if we keep the integrity of the recycled material up, the companies that use this material will realize greater savings by being able to use more of those recycled materials, thereby creating even more jobs?
Absolutely. And in fact, when we create more clean recyclables, we're helping those companies be more competitive in the global marketplace. End of story. We're strengthening Indiana's manufacturing base and our overall economy.
Great. Thanks. That was essentially my question. But I have 2 more comments, too, about the paper recycler and the glass recycler that was here. First, your testimony was very compelling. That last comment about recycling companies coming together to oppose a proposal. I mean, that speaks a great deal about what we're dealing with here. Did you say there were 32,000 tons of paper that you're going to need for the Valparaiso plant?
432,000.
432,000.
Yeah, per year. Around 30-some-odd thousand tons per month for the Valparaiso plant, and that gets pulped every day, gets made into new paper, big rolls of paper That paper then gets made into big sheets that have 2 smooth sides to it and 1 fluted like cardboard, and then that further gets converted into making a box. So we have 40 box plants throughout the country. The largest box plant in the world is operated by us in Valparaiso, Indiana. So the paper mill is going next door to the box plant. And we make boxes there for Home Depot. If you go into Home Depot to buy a box to pack some stuff up, every Home Depot in North America, we make boxes for Amazon, Diageo, which makes spirits, Smirnoff, and stuff like that, if you've heard of those brands, Crown Royal. And we make boxes for Procter & Gamble and a lot of companies here in the state of Indiana.
Great. Well, 432 tons is a lot of paper. I know I probably speak to my at-large colleagues here. I must get at least that much mail in my council mailbox every day. And to the glass recycler, I think I'm already doing my part to help you in your recycling.
With the beer bottles.
Right.
Councilor Hickman.
Thank you, Chairman Barr. I just want to go over some numbers. Covanta's representative said that it would produce 60 jobs. Am I correct with that? And the average was between $40,000 and $100,000 a year. Well, if we take an average of $50,000 a year, you're looking anywhere between $3.5 million per year of wages. I believe that, Carrie, you said that you will produce 10,000 jobs?
The 10,000 number is based on recovering 25% of Indiana's waste stream. Marion County, if we capture that 96,000 tons per year with a clean single-stream system, would be nearly 1,300 jobs in Marion County. And those are also arranged in salary and pay rate.
Range.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to do math here real quick. And let's see, 15, 5, 6, you're looking at a difference of 6.5 million of income for employees as opposed to maybe 3.5. Those are tax dollars that help the public safety budget. So I just wanted to clear that up because I think there was some inference that the city would make a lot of money to help with public safety, and we all know that that's not necessarily true. You talked about cost neutral. In other words, ramping it up because of the grants and the loans, that there would be no cost of ramping it up. How does the city then make money other than just the employee salaries?
I'll start with explaining the closed loop fund a little better. The reason that this $100 million has come together is because cities across the country have identified that initial capital expense of buying bins as the major barrier to implementing programs. Right. We'll need to spend, say, $10 to $12 million, we don't have an exact number at the moment, on bins to start a program. And that is a true barrier, right? And we would understand if there weren't resources to cover that cost. Going with what is better than nothing, the other proposal, as opposed to doing best in class. But because of the grants and loans combined, paying for that infrastructure up front, the whole design of the grant program, or the loan program, I'm sorry, is to be paid back with, finally to the point of your question, with the revenue increase from the commodities. So the city designs a program that's going to capture the most commodities, and that has value. So ultimately, that system, as it becomes sustainably designed, at one point I didn't make earlier to the trucks, there would be, and the truck factor is counted in on the energy side, and also on that calculation of payoff over time, because the trucks that are out there hauling trash, for example, will have a longer run if there's less trash at every household. So it's not double the amount of trucks. It's a much smaller percentage. And again, that's factored in to the idea of payback over time and then ultimately increased revenue to the city, above and beyond the larger economic impacts you already brought up.
Okay. Well, I'm very much against losing anything in recycling. I think that it would be wonderful if we could do 100%, but that's not feasible. So I have a real problem with losing a lot with recycling. I want to capture as much as possible. I see that if we don't do clean paper recycling, we're going to lose, I believe you said, how many jobs did you have in Indiana and Valparaiso? Who did the paper?
Yeah, the new paper mill is going to be I think with the new paper mill plus the box plant that we have there is 500 plus.
Altogether, we have about 1,300 jobs.
1,300, yeah, so the industry has around 1,300 jobs, right? Yeah.
So you're going to lose some jobs if you can't find paper, am I correct? Okay. Same thing with the bottle industry. If you don't get the glass recycle, you're going to lose jobs. So I have a real propensity to not lose jobs in Marion County. So I just wanted to put that out there, that I like to do the numbers, and so thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Hickman. We and I know we're testing some people's patience here who are here for OPL, so we're just about to move on to that topic and close out this one. Thanks to everyone who's been here to speak. I know that we do have a few people who signed up for public testimony on this comment, so on this matter. So if the clerk could read their names and if folks could keep their comments to 2 minutes, so we can move on to our next topic. So Leslie, could you read the names of the 3 people and then do 3? How many people are there total? 7. So if you could read the 3 and then we'll read the 4 and they'll come up in a row. Okay.
Julie Rhodes, Lindsay Ships, and Dee Gaither.
Go ahead. Yep.
Good afternoon, Chairman Barth and members of the City Council Community Affairs Committee. I appreciate the opportunity to make comments before you today in regards to the pending contract with renewal with Covanta. My name is Julie Rhodes, and I've worked in waste and recycling related issues for more than 20 years in government, nonprofit, and private sectors. I've worked with the City of Indianapolis and for the City of Indianapolis. I've worked in other communities across Indiana and across the U.S., and I'm called upon especially for my expertise in recycling economic development. I currently serve on the National Recycling Coalition Board, not here representing them today. I'm here representing myself as a resident, a 22-year resident of the Near East Side of Indianapolis. I'm here today to express my opposition to the proposal for the City of Indianapolis to enter into a new agreement or contract extension with Covanta to control all of Indy's waste through a waste processing system that will mix recyclables with trash, a front-end dirty material recovery facility, or MRF, with an incinerator. Recycling advocates like me have long looked forward to the day that the long-term contract with Covanta would be up for renewal, so that our city could join the 21st century in sustainable materials management. Now is the time to look at our waste issues comprehensively and strategically before we are again locked into an outdated system that neglects the economic development and environmental benefits of real recycling now before we sign another long-term contract. As a world-class city, it's imperative that Indianapolis begin to look at its nearly 300,000 tons of waste holistically and begin to find comprehensive and sustainable materials management solutions. Dirty MRFs are an old, outdated methodology that has proven over 25 years by many communities as not a practical or sustainable means of handling valuable recyclable material that should be feedstock for industry and a driver for local jobs. While technologies have evolved to make, does that mean my time was up?
Yeah, I'm sorry. We have so much more. We have so much more to do tonight. I'm sorry. We have got a room of red shirts here.
Okay.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening. My name is Lindsay Ships. Please forgive my voice. I'm suffering through a cold. I appear this evening on behalf of Citizens Action Coalition, Indiana's oldest statewide consumer rights organization. I speak to you on behalf of our 40,000 members, 3,291 of which reside in Marion County. CAC's sole purposes are protecting ratepayers, taxpayers, advocating for affordable health care, and a clean environment. It is not often that CAC is able to report to you that the legislature and governor have enacted a bill that sets a good bar for Indiana environmental and consumer policy. With Indiana's enactment, though, of House Bill 1183, Governor Pence did just that in setting a goal of 50% for our residential waste. In fact, 1183 sets the bar higher, as you've heard the figures already this evening. We join in Mayor Ballard's call to reduce Indy's dependence on foreign oil and to also make sustainability more of a priority for Indy. That said, we all want Indy to be a world-class city, and we feel that the automatic assumption of the word Covanta in the city's recycling proposal is misguided and challenges the public's ability to trust its government in paving a transparent path forward for its recycling program. And moreover, it leaves the public wondering why an incinerator business is in the driver's seat when it comes to our recycling. Should we not be seeking innovative partnerships involving business and community stakeholders to ensure accountability to us taxpayers? Were other companies brought to the table in discussing options? Were other options pursued to a public end, like this proposal? No. In fact, other options were conveniently left off the table administratively. The Covanta option sends a bad message to the public, reeking of impropriety, coziness, as if this proposal is all said and done, and the hearings tonight and tomorrow are mere formality. In addition, CAC remains extraordinarily concerned that Indianapolis would choose to add to its already neglected air quality by allowing an otherwise clean process to become mired in 19th century technology. More importantly, shareholders, as Covanta just said tonight, are they going to be more important, or will taxpayers? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dee Gaither, and I live in Irvington, and I do recycle. And I clean my things that I'm putting in the recycling bin. I don't clean out the things I put in the trash. And I love my cat, but I don't know that I want to eat things that her litter has been on. One thing that hasn't really been brought up tonight, Covanta said they're going to put $45 million into this new facility, and it's not going to cost the city anything. My dad always said, if something looks too good, maybe it is. And I just keep coming back to that on why would they want to put that much in if there's not a really big payoff for them. And I think the big payoff is in burning more things. Thank you.
Leslie, could you read the remainders of the speakers? And if all the speakers who are remaining who Leslie calls, could you go ahead and stand up here by the podium? Thanks.
George Wright, Martin D'Agostino, Jeanette Rowe, and Jackson Leonard.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Martin D'Agostino. I live in the Old North Side. And what I want to talk tonight about is the philosophy of sustainability. We heard that word a lot. The city has an Office of Sustainability. The mayor talks about it a lot. Sustainability isn't just what we do or how we act. It's a set of internalized values that informs how we act. It's what we believe, and then we act on those values. It's a self-reinforcing cycle. My concern and my question about this proposal is how it builds that value, sustainability, when the action that's involved is to just throw everything out. That action, repeated again and again, is totally at odds with the value of sustainability. You can't nurture sustainability when you just throw everything out. I urge you to take the long view, play the long game here, build a value that this city and community needs for the long term. Slow down this train, step back, reconsider. Thank you very much.
I am Jeanette Rowe, and I'm very happy to be here. I'm going to speak quickly because most of what I would like to have brought up has been said eloquently. I just want to say what Martin D'Agostino said is about sustainability. If we all put everything in the trash, all the crap that we don't want, whatever it is, we're not learning to take care of the planet. And that's a big problem. And the other thing I want to say is about glass. We have a vibrant market close to Indianapolis or inside Indianapolis. But the other thing I'm wondering is a beer and wine industry going out of style?
Mr. Vaughn, it looks like you get the final word.
Larry Vaughn, please. You know, I've heard the argument before, but these people with the recycling company, the burning company, they're in it for one thing, to get the metals out of the garbage that's emptied over there at their burning place. Here's the way to do recycling. I know when I was a kid, people would go to the store, buy their drinks like they do today. They would save their returnables. All you have to do is take Kmart or Walmart or whoever that has the money and that sells most of this product, charge a deposit off of your 24 pack can of soda pop or whatever you get. Maybe charge $2. When the person understands that when he goes back to the store and he don't have those cans, he's going to pay another $2. Or if he has the cans, he can throw them in the bin, get his pop without paying the deposit again. Or anybody on the street that sees these cans say, hey, I'm not going to pass up a dime. Some bum walking along. Hey, I know if I get 10 cans, I'm $1 closer to getting some wine or whatever he drinks. I know when I was a kid, we had 3 bottles, right? You could get a candy bar. That was a nickel. But in any case, I'm just saying, if we want to have, we got to have clean material to turn over to the recycler. Because why, I've been in the scrap business in the early part of my career. But we need to have the clean material. Nobody wants a bunch of garbage saturated aluminum cans or any glass bottles or anything. So I think that we need to keep our trash separate, and we need to have a more clean city, and the 13,000 jobs that they just talked about may multiply, because you're going to have these bums and people that are poor out there on the street. When they see an aluminum bottle or a can, hey, that's a dime. I can't pass it up.
Thank you, Mr. Vaughn. Okay, with that, I'll just have some final comments. I want to thank Covanta for coming tonight. I want to thank the IRC and all the folks from the industry for coming tonight. A few things to note. Number one, there's a comment that's been made repeatedly in the press by the Ballard administration that our city only has a 10% recycling rate. Therefore, we should do the approach that the mayor is putting forward, which is this Covanta approach. And that's just not a fair assessment. And the truth is, as a city, we have never led. We have never made it easy to recycle. We have never promoted recycling. When you go out to Seattle, Portland, other cities where I've been and visited with counselors and leaders in those cities, they say even in those cities where they have spectacular recycling rates and programs, they have to constantly work to make sure folks remember that it's important and that they should do it. And so it's an ongoing process between the folks who live in the city and the city government. But number one, you have to have deep commitment from the leadership. I'm there, and I would love to do that. And the truth is this: to say that Indianapolis doesn't want to do recycling is factually inaccurate when a city within our own county, Lawrence, is over 70% of recycling just because they have done exactly what the IRC is suggesting. Made it easy to recycle, and all of a sudden their recycling rates rocketed up. That's my first point, and it is this: we can do this. We just need to dig into public policy. Public policy is hard. Doing things the right way is not always easy. Getting groups together, getting coalitions, working together with industry, advocates, residents, that's hard. But doing things the hard way is often the right way. Taking the easy way is never the right way in public policy, and I think that's what we're doing in this situation. And so I would suggest that the fact is the council doesn't have a role in this scenario. And if we want to do better, and if we want to be a world-class city in all things, including recycling, it's really going to take the people of the city pushing your input out to the mayor's office and out to the public work board. I've done everything I can to make my voice heard, and it hasn't had any resonance. So I'm hopeful that the folks who are here tonight and who are watching at home will take the suggestion that's been put forth, and if it sounds like we have some consensus among counselors, that I will, based on this committee meeting, I will communicate to the mayor's office tomorrow that there seems to be a belief that let's just hit pause. There's no demand that we do this today or tomorrow. There is a demand that we thoughtfully consider the right public policy for the city. So I will ask the mayor to please hit the pause button, invite everyone into the 25th floor. Let's sit around the table and fight the right policy for Indianapolis and configure our city around that, not what's easiest. That's my view. And I'd like to encourage every single person here to come to every city council meeting because I'm enjoying this. All right, thanks again to our folks talking about recycling tonight. Much appreciated. This public policy discussion that's needed to happen. Now let's take it to the Public Works Board. Next, we're on to Proposal 241. So tonight we're going to be talking about IPL, a resolution that has been put forth by Councilor Adamson and many co-sponsors. We're going to hear tonight from the Sierra Club and from IPL. I'm going to turn it over to Councilor Adamson to kick things off and to tee up our first presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to first read the resolution so that everybody understands what we're talking about here today. This is